You're listening to Dad of All Trades with Jonathan Marco. Real talk, real projects, and figuring out how to build something online, one day at a time. Let's talk about it. What's up? Jonathan Marco here, the DOAT, and this is Dad of All Trades, episode 3. All right, today we're going to get into something that really doesn't have to do much with TikTok, nothing to do with monetization, and everything to do as to why I call myself a Dad of All Trades. I'm restoring not one, but two OBS trucks. A 1992 GMC Sierra 3/4 ton and a 1992 Chevy Blazer. And people keep asking me why. Like, why those trucks? Why now? Why are you spending money and time on trucks when you have a full-time job? You're trying to build a brand online. You have a family. You have all these things going on in life. And the answer is actually the whole point of DOAT. So let me explain. If you don't know what an OBS Chevy is, it is an old body style Chevy or GMC. We're talking the years 88 to 98. The years before trucks became rounded and looked like spaceships. These trucks were simple. Anyone could really work on them with some basic tools and some hard-headedness. And I've been drawn to them since I was a kid. And there's a reason for that. My stepdad bought a 1997 GMC Sierra 3/4 ton, brand new, off the dealership floor back in 1997. And I loved that truck. I've loved that truck ever since. That truck was everything to our family. We camped in it. We towed our boat with it. It was the symbol of our family gatherings outdoors. If we were out in the wilderness, that truck was around. I remember going to Lake Tahoe with it regularly. I remember going to all the Alpine lakes and the lakes surrounding Sierra Nevadas all the time with it. And there was even a few road trips we took down the California coast. Tons of memories in that 1997 Sierra. It wasn't just a vehicle, it was how we did life back then. And on top of that, I used to help my stepdad out on working on all of our family cars. He would do all the maintenance himself, basically, and I was there as long as I can remember, since I was like 9 or 10 years old, helping him in some form with our trucks, with our van, with whatever vehicle we had. And that is like the earliest time I can remember building something or doing stuff with my hands. And that is where I fell in love with working on vehicles. Now, I'm no expert mechanic, but I know how to get my hands dirty and I can troubleshoot my way through most situations, mainly on older vehicles. And I didn't fall in love with vehicles like by looking at them in a magazine. I felt in love with them in my driveway. Whenever there was something wrong with our van or our truck or our 4Runner, whatever it was, I remember I'd be out there helping my stepdad, whether it was just handing him a tool or holding the flashlight, or he would be teaching me how to wire a switch, basic little things like that. So when it comes to the OBS Chevys, I've always wanted one, and now I have two. And whenever I work on these vehicles, it just brings me back to that old school time working in the driveway. When I'm going on my Sunday drives, it reminds me of going on those camping trips or those road trips we used to take. The memories are right there. Working with my stepdad, learning without even realizing that I was learning. And when it comes to that story, there's not really a happy ending, but we'll get to that in another episode. But the trucks carry all of that with them. And that's why it's just not a project. It's personal. And when I found these trucks and I started working on them, something clicked that I hadn't felt in a long time. It felt like mine. And I need you to understand what I mean when I say that. I spent 20-something years, working 2 or 3 jobs at a time, where everything I earned went to the mortgage, went to the power bill, went to something, that my kids needed for school, or catching up on a debt, whatever it was. I never really felt like anything was mine. And even when I did have something, I'd have to sell it to get the money back so I could pay a bill. Everything was survival mode. I felt like when I bought these trucks that it was one of the first things in my adult life that exist purely because I wanted it to. Not because it was something my kids needed, not because it pays a bill, but because it feeds something internally to me that's been starving my whole adult life. Here's what I think most parents are missing, and I'm including myself with this. We need a project that has nothing to do with providing, nothing to do with work, and nothing to do with being productive in a way that benefits someone else. We need something that's just ours. For some people, it's woodworking. For some people, it's fishing. For some people, it's gaming. For me, it's this truck. And when I'm in the garage with the hood up and music playing, I'm not thinking about work. I'm not really thinking about this. I'm not thinking about any algorithms. I'm just present. Hands dirty, mind quiet, working on something physical that I can see progress on. And that matters, especially if you spent years in survival mode like I did. Because when your whole life has been about keeping other people afloat, you forget what it feels like to do something just because it makes you feel good. The truck reminded me of that. I'm not saying quit creating or quit the little things you're doing that benefit other people. What I'm saying is get a project, something with your hands, something that reminds you that you're more than a provider, more than a screen, more than just a job title that you may not even like. And here's the thing that ties it all together. The truck is content. Not because I'm trying to make it content, but because when you live an interesting life, content comes from it naturally. I post about my trucks across all the different platforms, and people engage with it more than most of my strategy monetization posts because it's real. It's a real project with real progress and real setbacks. And that's the DOAT philosophy. You don't have to choose between building a brand and living your life. Your life is the brand. The truck, the grilling, the cooking, the DIY projects, the gaming, all of it is content if you're willing to share it. And your audience will connect with real stuff more than the polished stuff every time. So yeah, I'm 42 years old, finally getting to restore an old truck, 2 of them, that are probably older than some of the audience listening to this. And I've never been more sure that this is exactly what I need to be doing. Not instead of creating, but alongside it. If you've got a project you've been putting off, start it. If you've got a hobby you've been feeling guilty spending time on, don't. Especially if you spent years putting everyone else first. That project isn't selfish, it's overdue. And it might just become the best content you've ever made. I'm Jonathan Marco, the DOAT. I'll see you on the next episode.